My name is Samuel. I'm 82 years old. I have stood at more grave sites than I can count. I have buried my parents, my siblings, and my friends. I have stood in the rain and listened to people say the exact same things over and over again. They always say, they are in a better place now. They pat my shoulder and say, one day we will all be together again. But I spent most of my life not knowing something that changed everything when I finally found out. I used to stand at those graves and feel a terrible panic in my chest. I asked myself if those words were actually true. I wanted to know if I would really see my family again. I wanted to know if I would recognize them and if they would remember me. Let me tell you what happened. You see, for a long time I was terrified of death. I did not know what to believe. I listened to what people said on television. I read books. I heard people share stories about near-death experiences. Some people told me we just become angels with wings. Other people told me we lose all our memories from Earth and start completely over. A man at the hardware store once told me he thought we just dissolve into some kind of invisible energy in the universe. I felt empty when I heard that. The thought of losing my identity and forgetting the people I loved was unbearable. It made me sick to my stomach. I was scared. I missed my family. I wanted real answers, not just guesses. Honestly, I realized I had to stop listening to rumors. I had to go to the only place that tells the truth. I opened my Bible. I sat at my kitchen table day after day, and I looked for the answers about what actually happens to us when we take our last breath. I was shocked by what I found. I realized I had to let go of a lot of assumptions. The truth made me uncomfortable at first, but I had to trust that God knew what he was doing. Let me explain what I learned about the moment we die. We are not just bones and skin, we have a soul. I read in the book of Ecclesiastes that when we die, the dust returns to the ground, but the spirit returns to God. Death is not a brick wall, it is just a door. Our physical bodies stop working, but our souls keep going. But I still had a question. Where do we go the second after we die? Do we just sleep in the dirt for thousands of years? I found the answer when I read the words of Jesus in the book of Luke. He told a story about a rich man and a poor beggar named Lazarus. Both of these men died. The beggar went to a place of peace, and the rich man went to a place of terrible suffering. I read that story 3 times. I noticed something that completely changed my perspective. The rich man was in torment, but he was fully awake. He was conscious, and more importantly, he remembered his life. He remembered he had 5 brothers who were still alive on earth. And here's what I didn't understand then, but I understand now. We do not lose our memories when we die. The rich man remembered his family. He knew exactly who they were, and he knew they were in danger. That proved to me that we keep our awareness. We keep our memories of the people we loved. I also learned that there is no waiting room. I read the letters of Paul. He said that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. I thought about my mother. She loved Jesus. When I read that verse, I realized that the very second she took her last breath in her hospital bed, she took her first breath in the presence of God. She did not sleep. She did not wander around as a ghost. She was instantly with Jesus. But I also had to face the terrifying truth that for people who reject God, they are instantly separated from him. There are only 2 places to go. But my biggest question was still bothering me. Will I recognize my family when I get there? Will they look like themselves? Will my mother still look like my mother? I turned the pages of my Bible to the book of Matthew. I read about Jesus taking Peter, James, and John up to the top of a high mountain. While they were praying, Jesus completely changed. His face was shining. Then 2 men suddenly appeared right next to him. It was Moses and Elijah. I sat back in my chair and thought about that. Moses and Elijah had been dead for hundreds of years. They did not have their old physical bodies. But Peter knew exactly who they were. Peter did not need an introduction. He did not ask Jesus for their names. He just recognized them. Moses was still Moses. Elijah was still Elijah. They did not turn into nameless, floating clouds of energy. They kept their identities. You know what surprised me most? I kept reading and looked at what happened after Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus came back to life, and he had a resurrected body. He was not a ghost. Mary Magdalene heard his voice and knew it was him. Thomas touched the actual wounds in his hands. The disciples sat at a table with him, and when he broke the bread, they recognized his face. Jesus was still Jesus. He was just glorified. I realized that if Jesus kept his identity and his recognizable face after he beat death, then we will too. God promises that when Jesus returns, he will resurrect our bodies. He will give us new, eternal bodies. I felt a massive weight lift off my chest. I knew right then that when I walk into heaven, I will see my parents. I will see their faces. I will know their voices. They will know me. We will not be strangers. But then I hit a part of the Bible that made me very sad. I read another thing Jesus said in the book of Matthew. He said that at the resurrection, people will not marry, and they will not be given in marriage. He said we will be like the angels in heaven. I put my head in my hands and I cried. I loved my wife. She passed away many years ago. The thought of not being her husband anymore felt like a heavy blow. I felt confused. I asked God why he would take away something so beautiful. I thought heaven meant we would just go back to the way things were on earth, sitting on our porch and holding hands just like we used to. I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking at it completely wrong. I spent weeks praying about it. I kept reading. I finally realized that Jesus was not saying we will love our families less. He was saying our relationships will not be limited by biology or earthly contracts anymore. On this earth, my relationships have always been mixed with pain. Even with my wife, we had misunderstandings, we had arguments, we hurt each other's feelings. Our love was strong, but it was flawed because we were human. In heaven, we will not need marriage because the love we share will be absolutely perfect. We will be united as one giant family of God. I will still know my wife. I will still remember everything we shared. But my love for her will be pure. There will be no sin, no jealousy, and no fear of losing her ever again. We will not have broken relationships. Every conversation will be full of perfect love. I felt peace when I finally understood that. But that peace led me straight into the hardest question I have ever had to face. What about the people in my family who are not saved? I have family members who do not want anything to do with God. I love them deeply. I have lost sleep worrying about them. The thought of being separated from them for all of eternity is painful beyond words. I used to ask myself, Samuel, how can you possibly be happy in heaven if your brother is in hell? I had to confront the reality that not everyone goes to heaven. Jesus was very clear. He said the gate to destruction is wide, and many people walk through it. He said the gate to life is small, and only a few find it. Those words are hard to read. People today want a God who only shows mercy and never judges anyone. But I read in the book of Romans that God is perfectly just. He will repay every person for what they have done. He is patient. He does not want anyone to perish. But he will not force a man to love him. He lets us make our own choices. I read Revelation chapter 21. It says that God will wipe every tear from our eyes. It says there will be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, and no more pain. I stared at that promise. I asked God, how can I not cry if my brother is not there? Will I forget him? Will you erase my memory of him so I don't feel sad? The Bible does not give a detailed step-by-step answer for exactly how God handles that. But I found an answer that settled my heart. I read in the book of Isaiah that God's ways are higher than my ways, and his thoughts are higher than my thoughts. I had to admit that I do not fully understand how God's perfect justice and his perfect mercy work together at the exact same time. But I know God. I know he is good. I have to trust that when I am standing in heaven, I will see things exactly the way God sees them. I will understand his justice completely. There will be no shadow of regret. There will be no sorrow. God will make everything right, and my joy will be completely full. I felt a fire start burning in my chest when I accepted this truth. If heaven and hell are completely real, and if eternity lasts forever, then I cannot sit around doing nothing. This reality ignited an urgency in my bones. I cannot save my family. Only God can save them. But I can open my mouth and share the truth. I can pray for them until my knees ache. I read in the book of Acts that if we believe in the Lord Jesus, we will be saved, and our households can be saved too. Our faithfulness matters. I realized I had to stop waiting for the perfect moment to talk to my unsaved family members. The perfect moment does not exist. Time is running out. I started calling my relatives. I started telling them about Jesus. I told them I loved them, but I told them the truth about the two gates. I do not want to stand in heaven and realize I kept my mouth shut because I was afraid of an awkward conversation. Eternity is far too long to be wrong. Let me tell you about the joy I feel now. After working through all those hard truths, my eyes were finally opened to the incredible promise waiting for me. I used to think about heaven and picture streets made of gold and giant pearl gates. But I do not care about gold streets anymore. I only care about the reunion. I read 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Paul wrote that right now we only see things like a blurry reflection in a mirror, but then we will see face to face. Right now I only know in part, but then I will know fully, even as I am fully known. I thought about what that actually means. On this earth I hide things, I have walls up, I get defensive. Even the people closest to me do not know every single part of my heart. But in heaven, all the walls fall down. I will know my family completely, without any of the barriers that our earthly sins built up. I will recognize them, and I will finally know them in a pure way. And it is not just my blood relatives. I read in Revelation chapter 7 about a great multitude that no man could count. People from every nation, every tribe, and every language standing before the throne. I am going to be part of a massive, eternal family. I will meet believers who lived 1,000 years ago. I will meet people from across the world. We will worship together, and we will serve God together. We will not be strangers. We are adopted into the exact same family. But the most overwhelming part is that I will finally be face to face with God. My earthly body is old. My hands shake. My back hurts every morning when I get out of bed. But I read in Philippians that Jesus will transform my lowly body so that it will be just like his glorious body. I am going to get a new body that does not break down. I will be united with my family, but most importantly, I will be united with my Savior. When I finally understood all of this, it changed the way I live my life right now, today. Heaven is not just a place I dream about to make myself feel better. It is a reality that shapes my daily choices. I read 1 Thessalonians. Paul said he did not want us to be uninformed about the people who sleep in death, so that we do not grieve like the rest of the world who have no hope. When I go to a funeral now, I still cry. I miss my friends. But I do not grieve like a man who has lost everything. I grieve with absolute hope. I know the separation is strictly temporary. I do not fear my own death anymore. When I feel pain, I remind myself that it is just a short moment compared to the glory that is coming. This truth made me look at my calendar differently. I realized I have to make every single day count. If I am going to be reunited with my believing family members forever, I need to start strengthening my relationship with them right now. What I do with my time today matters. How I love my family matters. I ask myself a hard question. Are there people in my family I need to reconcile with? I felt ashamed when I thought about a grudge I had been holding against a cousin for over a decade. We had a silly argument about money, and we stopped speaking. When I realized that heaven is a place where all division is erased, I knew I could not hold on to that anger. I picked up the telephone and I called him. I forgave him. I asked him to forgive me. I told him our time on earth is too short to waste it being angry. I read Colossians chapter 3. It says we must set our minds on things above, not on earthly things. I used to worry about my bank account. I used to worry about having the nicest yard in the neighborhood. But when I fixed my eyes on eternity, all of that faded away. I stopped chasing temporary success. I started investing in my relationship with God and my relationships with people. I stopped fearing the future because I know the best part of my life has not even happened yet. Jesus said in John chapter 14 that he was going to prepare a place for us. He said he would come back and take us to be with him. Heaven is a prepared place, but it is only for prepared people. The only way you will see your loved ones in eternity is through Jesus Christ. He is the only way. I want to ask you a very serious question. Are you ready? Have you put your faith in Jesus? Have your family members put their faith in him? If you have not done it, what is stopping you right now? Do not wait until you are standing at another grave to figure this out. I know the pain of missing someone. If you have lost someone who loved Jesus, take a deep breath. You will see them again. You will know their face. They will be whole, and they will be filled with perfect joy. If you are struggling with fear about what happens after you die, I want you to know that Jesus made a way. His invitation is open to you today. And if you have family members who do not know him, do not waste another minute. Pray for them. Love them fiercely. Open your mouth and tell them the truth about eternity while their lungs still have breath. Life is incredibly short. I blinked and I turned 82. But eternity lasts forever. One day we will step into that prepared place. Every sorrow, every painful goodbye, and every tear will be wiped away completely. I want you to live today with your eyes looking up at heaven. Forgive the people who hurt you. Love your family without holding anything back. Most importantly, make sure your own heart is right with God. If you want to keep learning how to prepare for eternity, please like this video so it can reach other people who are scared of death. Leave a comment and tell me who you are looking forward to seeing in heaven. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep walking this road together. Do not put this off until tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. Make your choice today. God bless you. I will see you next time. Amen.